Hey guys, my name is David, and I am the admin of Job Guide 24/7 channel. Today, I'm going to give you top 10 interview questions and answers. Let's start now. Question 1. Can you tell me a little about yourself? Part A. Tips to answer this question. Tip number 1. You should not talk about issues that are not related to work, such as childhood, family background, love, friends, etc. Tip number 2. You should talk about issues that are related to work, such as education, experience, skills, hobbies, and personality. Tip number 3. You should not talk about any detail that is already mentioned in your resume or cover letter because the interview is intended to provide evidence for what you stated in your resume or cover letter. However, it should be noted that employers always want to check if what you mentioned in your resume is correct or not. Tip number 4. There has been a lot of debate on how to answer this question, in which the following approaches have been discussed: qualification, resume, personality, individual, etc. But if you consider the employer as a customer, then you will have a completely new and proactive approach. You should consider the question, "Tell me about yourself," as a customer's greeting, and now this is your chance to prove you are the best candidate for the job. Part B. Ways to answer this question. According to tip number 4 in section A, you should take proactive measures to demonstrate that you are the most suitable candidate by answering two questions as follows. Q1. Are you capable of performing this job? By capable, I mean that, in practice, businesses can select a candidate based on two strategies: either selecting an unskilled, inexperienced candidate and train him/her later, or selecting an experienced one. So, whichever your competence level is, you will always have a chance to get selected for the job. Q2. Are you able to fit into corporate culture? To answer these two questions, let's consider an example below regarding the application for an HR assistant position at a skincare company, from which you can have a better understanding on how to answer this question in a new approach. This example consists of 4 parts as follows. Part 1. Give a brief description of yourself. In this part, you'll state what's your highest degree, total years of experience, and your long-term career goals. You should try to shorten the response in 3 to 5 lines. For example, I graduated with a bachelor's degree in business administration from Deaf University in 2016. When I was attending the university, I read an article about Laszlo Bock, Senior Vice President of People Operations at Google Inc. I truly admired what he did at Google, so I set my target to become a leading expert in human resource management in the US in the next 20 years. I don't have much experience in the HR field, but since I first developed my career goals, I have done many jobs to improve my knowledge and skills related to HR management. Part 2. You need to identify the top 3 strengths of yours in relation to the specifications of the job that you are applying for, and then identify some mini career stories to support your strengths. If you have a lot of experience, then you should look for mini career stories related to your achievements. If you have little experience, you should look for mini career stories related to some special knowledge of yours. Refer to KPI example below. For example, you know that KPI is an important job evaluation tool in the field of HR management. You know very well about KPIs and how to apply them. This will be a very good strength, and you can present it. For example, as follows. In mid-2016, I saw an HR manager asking how to apply KPIs in a Facebook group on human resources management. At that time, I did not have any slightest idea about KPI, except I knew that KPI was an important tool in HR management. I attended a management course on KPIs under AAA apprenticeship program in August 2016. I also learned how to build and implement KPIs from human resource management groups and forums. Currently, I have collected a relatively complete set of KPIs for departments of a company that sells cosmetics products. I am looking forward to joining the company so that I can apply the knowledge of how I manage KPIs to the company's job performance evaluation. Part 3. State the reason why you are here and why you love working for this company. For example, in June 2017, my company moved all of its office to another city. My family was living here, so I could not move to another city. Then the company agreed to let me find a new job. Last week, I read ABC Online News and learned that your organization is seeking for a candidate for an HR assistant. After reviewing the job specification, I found myself perfectly fit to do this job well. Additionally, I also conducted research on products of the company and discovered that Triple D products are the best in today's skincare market. I also tried this product and I really liked it because it made my skin brighter and there was no side effect. Working for the company in such a human resource development position for the purpose of providing the best skincare products to the market is a really exciting and engaging job. Part 4. Secret Weapon. Action Plan. In this section, I will introduce you to a secret weapon that gives you many advantages over other candidates and helps you impress the employer. That is an action plan. An action plan consists of two sections. Section A, Personal Development. How do you improve your knowledge and skills to meet job requirements? Give 1 to 5 improvement points. Section B, How will you contribute to the company? Give 1 to 3 directions to contribute to the company. An action plan will be presented as a slide PowerPoint consisting of 3 to 5 pages, not including the cover page. In case you don't know how to make an action plan, you should still present Part 1 and Part 2 before the employer. If you have an action plan, then after you show Part 1 and Part 2, you should send 1 copy to each member of the interview board. Here is an example. Through my research on the company job description and specification, I realized that I needed to further improve my knowledge and skills to do the job well. Currently, I'm attending the following courses: 7 Recruitment Method Training course organized by BCD, Advanced Training course organized by GHI, a Modern Payroll Development Method course organized by STU. If I am employed by the company, I plan to do the following work. You should give a brief summary of 1 to 3 work that you plan to do. I believe that with my capabilities and efforts, if I am employed by the company, I shall perform this job well. I would like to present my action plan to the interview board for reference. Then your answer has been completed. It should be noted that you mentioned several of many career stories in relation to knowledge, technical skills, and soft skills. Such personalities as hardworking, eagerness to learn, sense of responsibility, and so on are factors that are highly appreciated by the employers as they help you easily integrate yourself into the company, and for which you do not need to create any specific mini-career story, but they should be demonstrated in your above-mentioned mini-career stories. Question 2. Where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years from now? Your interviewer wants you to mention that you have really thought about your future, your ambition to really progress in your selected industry. They also want you to be able to verify that this isn't just a time-filling position. If you get asked this question, be specific as well as honest about your future goals, but ensure that you are considering that a hiring manager will want to know: 1. If you have set a realistic expectation for your career. 2. If you have ambitions. 3. If the position is aligned with your growth and goals. Your best bet is to really think about where the position will be or could take you and answer along those lines. Part A. Tips to answer. Tip 1. Try and avoid general or vague answers like, "I would expect to be in a management position by then," or "I would hope to grow with the responsibility that I'm offered and to really develop my skills as far as I can." Tip 2. Talk about your interest in the industry of the company. Emphasize the value that you would bring to the organization and what you can do for it. Tip 3. Show that you are ambitious but have realistic goals. Saying that you expect to be senior manager after 3 years won't go well. Tip 4. Be specific but very flexible. Your interviewer wants to know what you want. Hiring, training, and then developing staff can cost a lot of money, around $9,000 in order to recruit a new graduate. So they want to ensure that you are really committed to staying with their company. Tip 5. This question is one that will let you demonstrate that you have done your research in the career paths that are open to you within the company. Try to be more specific. Tip 6. Do not indicate that you want to change careers in current or future. Tip 7. Never say you want to do business in the future. Tip 8. Focusing on two main directions you want to become specialists or managers in this field. Part B. Sample answers. You should pay attention to the following questions, such as where do you see yourself in 5 years, or 10 years, or 15 years, or 20 years from now? Or what are your career goals? These questions are all related to your career goals. Among your career goals, there will be short-term goals, 2 to 10 years, or long-term goals, 20 years. Whether they are short-term or long-term, you should clearly state which are your long-term career goals and make a list of short-term plans to meet the requirements of the current job. The two most common career goals are to become a manager or a leading expert in the area over the next 20 years. Below are career goals for an HR coordinator. My career goal is to become one of the top HR managers in the US over the next 20 years. To achieve this goal, I have resourced to AAA Career Consulting Services. They have helped me develop a career path for an HR management position over the next 20 years. I am currently completing my plan to become a good HR supervisor within the next 5 years. My plan includes the following tasks. You should make a list of tasks that you need to accomplish to complete the plan. Question 3. Why did you leave your last job? Employers ask this question to get a clearer picture of who you might be as an employee and the circumstances of your departure from your last job, but they can always check that with your references. They're also asking this to determine if you're someone who might not stay long enough with the company after you've been trained. Part A. Tips to answer. Tip 1. Never get tricked into talking bad about a colleague or an employer. Tip 2. Don't mention money at this part, or you may seem like a mercenary. Tip 3. If you already have a job, then say it is about developing your career and yourself as a person. Tip 4. If you are part of a downsized company, keep positive and short. Tip 5. If you happened to be fired, then you need a good explanation. Whatever the circumstances were, don't talk about the drama and stay positive. Tip 6. Avoid stating that you are looking for a new challenge if you can't back it up, because the interviewer will dig deeper. Tip 7. Don't answer in a way that doesn't reassure the interviewer. Answers such as, I wasn't being challenged, the work was no longer interesting. Part B. Sample answers. Sample 1. I left my last job because I wanted to spend more time with my family. I'm now ready to go back to work full-time. Sample 2. I've decided that is not the direction I want to go in my career, and my current employer has no opportunities in the direction I'd like to head. Question 4. What are your greatest strengths? You should have already mentioned your main weaknesses and strengths in your cover letter and resume. In order to answer a question like this, just go over what is written in your resume. Although, be prepared to back up your answers with examples. This gives you a chance to launch your unique selling points or 3 to 5 key strengths. Be sure to keep in mind the job requirements and compare these with your attributes, like your skills, abilities, experience, and personality. Where they match is where you need to consider them to be major strengths. Part A. Tips to answer. Tip 1. Share your true strengths and not those that you believe your interviewer wants to hear. Tip 2. Choose strengths that are targeted to this job. Tip 3. Give specific strengths. Instead of using people skills, use relationship building or persuasive communication. Tip 4. Be prepared to demonstrate. As discussed, have a concise example ready to back each strength up. Be careful about rambling on too long here. Your answer should still be 3 minutes long. Tip 5. Focus. Narrow your list down to at least 5 strengths that you are comfortable discussing or could get comfortable discussing with a little bit of practice. Tip 6. Be accurate. Choose strengths that you actually possess. Don't pick a strength just because it's in the job description or worked for your buddy. Tip 7. Don't be too humble. See common mistakes above. Avoid weak praise and lame strengths. Pick something impressive. Don't go with pleasant to work with as your main selling point. Question 5. What is your greatest weakness? Part A. Tips to answer. Tip 1. Never deny that you don't have weaknesses. Everyone has them, and if you refuse to admit that you have weaknesses to your interviewer, then they will most likely write down that you're lacking in self-awareness, arrogant, or untruthful. Tip 2. Be completely honest, but end on a positive note. Tip 3. Explain that you're happy to take on more training to develop your skills. Tip 4. We all have weaknesses. Just think about how they might affect the impression of you to your interviewer before you say anything. Tip 5. Do not reveal a weakness that raises red flags. Another mistake is to be too candid and confess to a weakness that would hinder your ability to excel in the role. Part B. How to answer. Many career books will tell you to pick a strength and present it as a weakness, like, I work way too much. I just work until I get told to stop. This is a big no-no. First, when you use a strength and present it as a weakness, it's deceiving. Second, it misses the whole point of the question. You need to pick a weakness that you have actually been working on to overcome. Like, I have had trouble with planning and prioritization, but I am now starting to correct this. I just started using a pocket planner. Then you can show them your planner and talk about how you are using it. Talk about a real weakness and show how you are overcoming it. Part C. Sample answer. I am a perfectionist, so I always want to accomplish every task, even including the most minor ones. In many quarters, however, no matter how hard I try, I am unable to become one of the best employees. I consulted the advice from a career counselor whose name is Kelvin. He helped me realize that I am not working toward the purpose and have no focus. I attended a course on target and time management. I also worked with my boss on weekly, monthly, and business goals. In addition, I also evaluate the importance of goals from high level to low level. After 2 months of implementation, I was ranked 5th among 30 top employees, though I was ranked 10th or 15th previously. I draw out a conclusion that everyone's time budget is limited and goal-based management is a great tool in order to improve work performance. In next year, I shall continue improving my goal and target-oriented management and try to achieve the goal of being in the top 3 employees. Question 6. What has been your greatest achievement? This is a very popular interview question. Even if the interviewer does not ask this question, it is still advisable to consider this regarding the topic on Tell Me About Yourself. I already mentioned using 3 mini career stories to demonstrate that you are the most suitable candidate. Common achievements that should be mentioned include completing a project, increasing sales, saving time and money, improving processes, reducing failure rates, etc. In fact, it is not that every candidate has achievements in their job. If you cannot identify appropriate achievements, you can refer to the following sources. First source, special knowledge and skills related to the job. These are not the kinds of skills and knowledge you learn from case studies or training programs of the company. These knowledge and skills are learned from informal sources, and they must be of particular value to the job. For example, you have learned how to develop and apply KPIs from online HR management forums. In order to develop special knowledge, you can search for keywords relating to your field, such as HR management tools or best HR management techniques. Second source is from your failure. If you have no achievements but many failures, don't worry. Failure is an essential part of our life. If you have a failure, you can learn any lesson, knowledge, or skill that is relevant to the applying position. That is a positive story that many employers would greatly appreciate. Part A, tips to answer. Tip number 1. Going to college or gaining a degree will not differentiate from the other interviewees. Tip number 2. Your achievements should show evidence of skills and knowledge related to the job you're applying for. Tip number 3. The PDCA method is a great approach. Many recruitment experts give advice on the application of STAR, Situation, Task, Activity, Result tool in job interviews, and I myself find that this is a great tool for recruitment practice. Nevertheless, I think there are still many improvements to be made with this tool. So, in my opinion, PDCA, Plan, Do, Control, Action will be a better tool. In PDCA, action is an improvement, which means that in every job or project, you need to find out what improvements need to be made when the project is finished. Part B, answer sample. For example, if you are applying for a QA manager assistant position, you can present the following example. A year ago, when I was a QA engineer for a garment factory, I was assigned to reduce error rate in a project from 2% to 1.5%. Unfortunately, there was no training program available in the local region. So I had to look for online documentation, and then I knew that ISO 9000 was a very good quality improvement tool. I attended an online course at AAA.com and found an online QA coach whose name is Kelvin. Kelvin helped me apply 7 quality statistical tools to my sewing workshop. Thanks to this, I discovered that most of the errors occurred with semi-finished products and glue presses. I reported this problem and discussed with engineering and production departments to develop some corrective measures. In the process of developing the solutions, Kelvin also helped me apply PDCA to analyze the cause and implement the solution so developed. After 3 months of implementation, we have reduced error rate from 2% to 1.2%. When the project was completed, Kelvin helped me apply ISO 9000 to create a formal quality management system. After 3 months, this system was specifically applied to finished production blocks. Question 7. Why should we hire you? This is one of the most important questions that you have to answer carefully. This is your chance to really stand out and bring attention to your skills, especially the ones that haven't been addressed. Part A. Tips to answer. Tip 1. You should cover these 2 things. You can not only do the work, but you are able to deliver amazing results. You can fit in with the culture and team. Tip 2. Stating that you need a job or you are just really good won't make the break. Tip 3. Explain why you would make a great employee, why you would fit perfectly for the job and company, and what you have to offer. Tip 4. Don't speculate about other candidates' flaws or strengths, but ensure you focus on yourself. Tip 5. Keep it short, sweet, and ensure you highlight your achievements. Tip 6. Do not answer, "I need the money." Tip 7. Do not answer, "This location is very close to where I live," or "go to school," or "want to move," or whatever. Part B. Sample answers. To answer this question, there are 2 parts that should be addressed. Part 1. You must demonstrate that you can perform the job. If you have enough experience, knowledge, and skills, then you should summarize 3 to 5 strong points to demonstrate that you can perform the job. If you don't have enough experience, you should only point out your strong points in relation to the job and then present a short-term plan to supplement the skills and knowledge that you are lacking. In both cases, if you have knowledge, skills, and experience related to the job that many of the candidates do not have, present it and hold that as an advantage. Part 2. State the reason why you are easily able to fit to the corporate culture of the company. The fact is that many candidates are unable to fit into the working environments of the company. Therefore, many companies consider this as one of the key criteria in recruitment. An example to answer question 2. I think that many people will find it difficult to fit into a new environment, but this is different to me. I often rely on the following ways to quickly fit into a new environment. Firstly, I always conduct a research on regulations of the company and the department, and then I review my current knowledge and skills to adjust accordingly. Secondly, I think that building good relationships with colleagues and other departments will help to keep my job running smoothly. Thirdly, I always develop work plans on 3-month, 1-month, and weekly basis. In addition, I frequently report to my direct manager to make appropriate adjustments and adapt to goals of the department. Fourthly, I always have a sense of responsibility and help others. Therefore, I always help my department complete its duties and develop its goals. I believe that with my abilities and the methods that help me to easily fit into the working environment of the company, I will be the most suitable candidate for the job. Question 8. What do you know about this organization? Your interviewer wants to know if you did your research about all the job requirements and the company that you applied to. Remember, if you don't have knowledge about the company, it will be noticeable within the first few words of your answer. Part A. Tips to answer. Tip 1. Doing the background work will make you stand out. Find out who the main people are. Were they in the news lately? Tip 2. Demonstrate that you have researched the company. Know the products, the firm size, the reputation in the industry, values, and history. Tip 3. You don't have to know every date and person, but you need a good understanding of the company. Tip 4. Allow your interviewer to tell you more about the company. Be sure to pay attention. Part B. Sample answers. In this section, you need to present 3 matters. How did you find out about the company? What does this company have to be proud of? And what are the products of the company? For example, I have searched for a lot of information about the company, such as news on the company's website, cosmetics industry report of American Cosmetics Manufacturers Association, and found that the company got an average annual growth rate of 20% in the past 5 years. I also consulted some consumers on evaluation forms and found that some products distributed by the company, such as Triple D, Triple G, or Triple F, are highly appreciated by consumers. I myself also bought a Triple D product and found that it was a very good product. I think that joining a company in the role as an HR assistant and developing a human resources team for the company is a really interesting and meaningful job. Question 9. Let's talk about salary. What are you looking for? This tends to be a tricky situation for many, and when it comes to an interview, it can be a dangerous situation. Talking salary prior to being sure you have made an impression is a mistake that is commonly made. When negotiating, there is power in knowledge. When it comes to responding, the number one thing to remember is to do your research before the interview. That's right, prepare for the question just in case. You can use sites such as Glassdoor and PayScale to get an idea of what the low, median, and high pay rate is for the position you're applying for. It's recommended to answer with the highest number in the range you come up with based on your level of education, experience, and skills. You also want the hiring manager to know you're open for negotiations. Part A. Tips to answer. Tip 1. Don't ignore the question. There are employers and hiring managers that will automatically deny a follow-up on any application or interview where the applicant skipped questions, so be sure not to ignore them. This isn't the part where you want to be stubborn, because the interviewer could see you as being a hassle and move on to the next applicant. Tip 2. Don't be too specific. Remember to be flexible. Your answer is simply a starting point and a suggestion. If you throw out a number that's too high, you could find a quick close to the interview. On the other hand, if you throw out a number that is too low, you could end up earning a salary that's less than you're worth or need to live on. Tip 3. Be flexible. This is important. You want to remain flexible at this stage. You may mention that salaries in your past have been between a broad range. You could also let them know that you know the suggested pay rate for the position you're applying for falls into a certain range, such as a 20,000 to 30,000 pounds. Tip 4. Defer the question. If you don't believe it's the correct time to talk about the numbers, you could defer the question by stating your pay rate is open for negotiation. You could also state you would prefer to discuss pay in person or ask the employer to offer a pay rate. Part B, ways to answer. When asked, what are your pay rate expectations, there are three possible answers. Method 1, don't answer. While ignoring the question isn't a good thing, there are other ways to avoid answering the question directly. You can state that you would like to know more about the job before getting into the numbers. Method 2, give a range. If you are comfortable providing an answer at this stage and you've done your homework, you can provide a salary range. Remember, you can use sites like PayScale to get an average salary range based on the job title, location, and education or experience level. After you have begun the negotiation process, you can include benefits with your salary calculations as well. Say the employer offers improved health insurance than you currently have. This would be worth it in the long run to take a little less pay. Method 3. If necessary, give one number. If you have been asked yet can't provide a range as your answer, then go with a number in the middle of your salary range, possibly lower if you can. In this situation, you're aiming to come in under their target rate and not over it. Question 10. Do you have any questions for us? Interview process is a two-way interaction. When you raise questions to the employer, you are showing that you are really interested in the current job. Some candidates tend to talk too much and show off that they are highly competent, but they almost do not care about the needs of employers. This is a fatal mistake. This only proves that you do not know how to communicate, and most employers will assess your level of adaptation to the business at a very low level. Part A, tips to answer. Tip number 1. Do not raise questions about leave benefit, wage, or work regime, etc. That makes the employer think that you care about yourself without concern for the company. Tip 2. Prepare questions. Prepare when you are going in, make notes or refer to questions on paper if needed. Not only does this help you get information you may want to know, but also shows you can be prepared. Tip 3. Use the time wisely. You only have a short amount of time, but if you are able to provide any additional information that the hiring manager may not know already, this is a great time to let them know. Tip 4. Questions don't have to wait until the end. If a question happens to come up naturally, then ask it. Traditionally, an interview is a conversation, not an interrogation. Part B. Sample answers. Typically, there are 3 key rounds in a job interview: HR round, line manager round, and boss executive round. For each round, there will be different questions. Section 1. With HR round, you should ask questions about the company and department. For example, 1. How would you describe the company culture? 2. What kinds of things would you expect of me to enable me to advance within the company? 3. What kinds of advancement opportunities are there for someone in this position? For line manager round in section 2, you should ask questions about desired qualities, challenges, and job goals. For example, 4. What experience and skill sets would make a candidate more ideal? 5. What do you believe would be the largest challenges within this position? 6. If I'm hired for this role, what would you want me to achieve in my first months in the position? For boss executive round in section 3, you should ask questions about the industry and future projections. This is your chance to demonstrate your industry knowledge. For example, 7. When looking into the company's near future, what do you believe will be the most difficult challenges to face? 8. What new trends do you believe have an influence on the industry, and how is your company prepared for them? 9. What are you able to tell me about the company's plans for growth?